The Constitution mandates that the President shall from time to time give to the Congress information of the State of the Union. This is one of those times.
But it is uncommon timing. Just over 5 hours ago, the White House counsel was presenting the President's defense in his impeachment trial. Now, most of the House members who voted to impeach him and senators who sit in judgment are assembled in the House chamber to listen to Mr. Clinton's State of the Union address.
And as the moment approaches, we go to the White House and senior correspondent Wolf Blitzer.
Bernie, what we'll hear from the President tonight will be a major new initiative on his part to start using some of that budget surplus. He's projecting some $4 trillion in a budget surplus over the next 15 years, and Mr. Clinton will propose that 60% of that go towards Social Security, ensuring that the baby boomer generation will have Social Security. The rest should go for Medicare, also for what he will call a universal savings account, some sort of retirement plan for millions of Americans who don't have a retirement plan. The rest for some increased spending, including for defense spending. Missing, though, will be what the Republicans want most, an across-the-board budget tax cut, of course, and Mr. Clinton will argue that this is the time to look forward and not necessarily go for those kinds of tax cuts.
Wolf, as we watch members of the President's cabinet enter the House chamber, we want to get some words from our own Candy Crowley, our congressional correspondent who's been covering the Senate trial. Candy, are the senators going to be able to focus on what the President has to say tonight, given their other very weighty responsibility?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in fact, even if they were having difficulty, they would force themselves to focus. It is in the Republicans' interest to show that they are engaged in the nation's agenda, that they are engaged in doing other business. You will see them tonight listening. They want to show that they are respecting the office of the presidency, despite some of the things that they believe this president has done. The word has gone out, especially from Senator Lott and from House Speaker Hastert, that there will be decorum. Senator Lott said earlier, look, good politics is good manners. So you will see them respond politely, and I suspect that you will see when they come out in their normal way to respond that Republicans will not be altogether happy with what the president has to say. The Republicans still believe that there is too much money being spent on too many government programs. They'd prefer that it all go to a across-the-board tax cut.
Jeff Greenfield, you were saying just a moment ago as we listened to Bruce Morton recount what an extraordinary year it's been, that the President didn't talk about a certain topic a year ago, and he's apparently not going to talk about it tonight.
No, a year ago we were sitting around, I think it was my first day at CNN, wondering how can the President possibly stand before the American people and give a State of the Union speech when this Monica Lewinsky story is swirling all about him. Maybe he'll do a confession. Maybe he'll talk about a problem he has. Instead, he gave a meaty policy speech, exactly why the public has said all along that they admire him as president, even if they don't admire him personally. His poll ratings shot up. They've stayed there ever since, and there's every reason to think he will do exactly the same thing tonight. It's his way of saying, don't judge me on my personal flaws, whatever you think of them. Judge me on the job I've done as president, and so far that's where the public is, and they've been there since a year ago tonight.
Rahm Emanuel, you've worked closely with this president. Is this setting this president's cup of tea?
Oh, this is where he's at his best. High moment, high drama, in front of the chamber, speaking to the American people, giving them the other side of Washington, rising to that occasion. And I think he'll be on all pistons will be firing. And I also, Bernie, although they've distributed a draft and they've let a lot of information out, there's one major other policy area that is not in the draft, and the President will announce that it's an executive action tonight. It will be a major area for the health of this country.
Can you tell us what that is, Rahm?
I'm not allowed to, but I think that it's something that's in the President's draft, and they're putting the final touches on it. And it's going to be, I think it's a major area. It's an executive action that he'll take leading in the area of the health care of this country. And so this is a type of drama that the White House knows how to play out. They spill out since January 1, dominating the issue agenda, showing the American people they have an agenda for this country, and it's not just one night. And this will roll and continue to roll right up through to the budget. And it's basically 6 weeks of straight issues, and it's why I think they've taken in a single evening and made it a 6-week issue blitz of the country. And this is going to be the culmination, and I think it's why the President's on his game, speaking directly to the 50-plus million American homes.
We're looking at a picture of the First Lady, Hillary Rodham Clinton, talking with baseball great Sammy Sosa. And we're told, Bernie, the president is moving closer to the door through which he will enter the House of Representatives, the chamber.
And Mrs. Clinton regards herself as a Chicagoan, and of course Sammy Sosa is an outfielder for the Chicago Cubs.
We should just mention that what Rahm is talking about sometimes is not what the Republicans, they know that they are trapped. Frank Sesno reported earlier that one Republican senator says said of the president, he's taunting us. This is very weird. He knows that he's high in the polls. He knows he has his moment in the sun, and we have to just sit there and take it because we don't want to look churlish, but it's not something these senators are particularly happy about.
2 quick points. There will be 2 elements of applause. When the president is announced, he makes his way down the aisle, and once he's up there, he's introduced formally by Speaker Dennis Hastert.
For whom we should say this is his first State of the Union, having ascended to the speakership just a matter of days ago.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Tony Blankley is with us here at the CNN studio. Tony, how are Republicans going to receive the president tonight?
My sense is they're going to receive him pretty much the way they have over the years from either party. This is a very ritualized activity, and I can think back to the Reagan years during Iran-Contra. Would there be some reaction? I think you're going to find them, as they always are, sort of civil, applauding, standing up when appropriate, even though we have this rather bizarre event hanging over the proceedings. You can't overstate the ritual nature of these proceedings.
Tony, as the president makes his way down the aisle, tell us how the House is broken down. It appears there are a number of Democrats on the right side of the screen. Does that mean the Republicans on the other side are? Well,
there's no official seating. You can sit wherever you want, and the early members get in early sometimes to sit, close to the aisle if they want to shake hands with the president. Normally, the Republicans sit to the right as the audience looks at the speaker, or to the left as the speaker looks at him. So I don't think there's any formula tonight for it, though. People just sit wherever they want.
CNN wants to report some news at this moment as the president hands his speech to the Speaker of the House. White House correspondent John King sends word very quickly that Democratic congressmen have been told by the White House that tonight, in his State of the Union address, President Clinton will announce that the Justice Department will sue the tobacco companies, this in spite of the state settlements.
That's probably what Rahm Emanuel was talking about, one imagines. Is that it, Rahm?
Jeff, that's exactly it. The president will direct the Justice Department to open up and prepare a lawsuit to recover Medicare costs. And that will be a major opening. And I think it shows a bold sweep of this president and this White House, when everybody thought this issue was dormant, how to move forward and not take a loss and push the ball down another 5 yards, 10 yards. And that's exactly the issue.
We're looking at pictures that lead. Bill McCollum is one of the House prosecutors there, standing, not applauding.
One note on manners. At a coffee briefing with Senator Trent Lott, the Senate Majority Leader, asked about...
Thank you. Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and the distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
For 1 hour and 17 minutes by our count, President Clinton has held the members of the House of Representatives and the Senate at attention. By our count, interrupted by applause almost 100 times, apparently setting a new record for the State of the Union addresses. A remarkable night, Bernie, considering what's going on.
Very remarkable. The president clearly in his element, displaying the humor and the fact that he was enjoying delivering this address. At one point, getting applause when he said, that was encouraging, you know, when he said, let's make sure women and men get equal pay for equal work by strengthening the enforcement of equal pay laws. People stood up on both sides. He said there was more balance on the seesaw effect of seeing members rise and applaud him. Candy Crowley is on the Hill.
Bernie, I think what you saw, at least by the accounts of some senators that I saw as they were leaving early, I might add, was a pretty standard reaction to the State of the Union address under very unusual circumstances. You saw applause when on the Republican side when they liked what the president said, and you saw them not applauding when they did. Lots of support from the Democrats, pretty much as everybody said it would go. We noticed about 15 or so empty seats early on, 10 to 15, went up to about 30 later on. But it's not unusual. It's hard to read too much into that because many times lawmakers get up and leave in the middle because it gets too long. I, in fact, ran into one senator who said, it's too hot in there, so I'm going to watch the rest of it in my office.
President Clinton is well known for his ability to rise to these occasions, to give a good speech. Wolf Blitzer, tonight the president almost seemed to suck up all the energy around him and to look energized as he gave this address under very adverse circumstances. Wolf?
Well, Judy, his aides say that he spent a lot more time rehearsing this speech in the White House theater than normally is the case. He had more time on his hands. They said that's why he polished it. They do expect, just as last year, even though last year he never mentioned directly the Monica Lewinsky allegations, which had just surfaced, and this year he didn't really directly mention the Senate impeachment trial. They do expect that he will receive another boost in the public opinion polls as a result of this speech and the specific proposals that he enunciated, including how to save Social Security for the baby boomer generation. And also, they also argue that his proposals on education, crime, and now the announcement that the Justice Department is going to file a lawsuit against the tobacco industry, all of that should help boost his public opinion ratings once again.
If you're wondering in our live coverage, where are the Republicans' response? As soon as you see the president step through the doors there at the back of the chamber, 5 minutes after that, the GOP will have two of its representatives speaking. Rahm Emanuel, a top advisor formerly to this president, has been watching and listening to all this. What's your reaction?
Well, Bernie, in all moments, as I said earlier, that this president would rise to this occasion. He looks forward to this moment. And I think that most important is the American people watch this and take his measure in this time. And I think that he showed them an agenda worthy for this time. I'm not sure, can you hear me, Bernie?
Every word.
Okay.
So can the rest of the world.
Okay. But I think that that's, you know, and I think that the speech obviously had its length, but I think as he closed there, he talked about the next century and how they were going to take measure. And he put the Congress on the spot and said, this is your time too, as much as mine, and we're both going to be measured by what we produce for the American people. And I think he turned this moment for the American people to watch the Congress and offer his hand to work with them. And I say all the politics and all the theater are there, as well as the tactics and the strategy. So I think that, you know, he loves this moment, but I think the American people always look at him and take his measure at this time, and that's what's going on right now. And I think the White House put up an agenda for them to do that. And I think the Republicans now, appropriately given their situation, will now offer their hand to work with him on a host of issues to answer their political dilemma.
Well, on that note, Tony Blankley joins us as well, former advisor to Newt Gingrich. Tony, the president seemed to pepper this speech with appeals for bipartisanship. He talked about reaching across party lines, joining together, working with lawmakers in both parties. He mentioned it again and again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on Social Security, I don't think there's any doubt that the Republicans are going to reach out to his fairly specific discussion. There are going to be a lot of details they disagree with, but it's certainly an opening, and I know that the Republicans are going to reach him. On some of the other issues, Medicare, I think there was a lot of, if not misrepresentation,